or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about your new guide, Todd, demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. If there are younger families out there, should they consider having a trust in place, and what type?
Most people don't think about it when you're young, but if you're a young family, meaning you've got minor children, you might not have a ton of assets yet, but you want to make sure that what you do have is protected for your children. You could probably use a revocable trust. I don't think you need an irrevocable trust, but a revocable trust. You put your assets in. Again, they're going to avoid probate. Again, it may or may not be a big estate tax issue at the moment, but whatever you have, your children can't own, right? They are minors. So you don't necessarily want to leave your assets to a guardian and have the guardian deal with everything when you can design a trust to hold the assets and ensure how and when and where and why they get these assets. Just pick the right trustee, put the language you need in the trust to control it for those children, and the trust will accomplish that task. So just because you're young, folks, doesn't mean you shouldn't think about your estate planning. Sometimes it's not all about the money and the probate and the taxes, but more so about the family behind the estate plan.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they have written a brand new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Call right now for your free copy, 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and not Tucker with you. And as we kick things off today, top story is going to be the economic data that we received this morning. Let's start with the good side of things. Weekly jobless claims continue to be in a pretty darn comfortable area, coming in at 224,000 for the week. That is down slightly from 227,000 last week. When we look at the continuing claims numbers, came in also at a decline from last week, going from 1.968 million to 1.953. That is a 5.4% increase year over year, which is right in the range that we've been in for the last several weeks. So the trend continues to be a modest uptick in continuing claims relative to last year. But generally, if you're seeing claims moving up, at a 4 to 6% range annually, historically that has not been enough to cause any kind of major problem as it relates to unemployment or a reduction in consumer spending. The place where you tend to get into trouble is when you get closer to a 10% rise in continuing claims year over year. There were some signs that we might have been heading there in late May, early June. That is subsequently reversed, and this report continues to paint a picture of a labor market that, while there may be some concerns on the hiring side of things, we still don't really have any uptick in new claims, and that's helping to keep somewhat of a lid on continuing claims.
Yeah. So it continues this story of kind of a stale and stuck labor market where there's not a ton of turnover. And I think that leads into something that we were talking about the last couple of days, which is the wage side of things. There's been a fair bit of focus over the last week of that wage growth that was occurring for the last few years on the lower income spectrum ticking up, right? You had wage growth for the bottom quartile outperforming the top quartile of earners for a few years. And what most people will tell you is if you're talking about really strong wage growth, it doesn't come from getting a raise in your current job.
It comes from going to a new job.
It comes from switching, and we're not seeing any switching right now, which I think is probably what's contributing most to the stagnant wage gains that we're seeing, especially for those lower income individuals. And so if there's a stagnant labor market, it means not a lot of turnover, not a lot of churn. Not a terrible thing for employers, but for employees, it means stagnant wages that if we're pushing 3% inflation, might have a challenge keeping pace.
Yeah, the catchy way that I've heard this job market referred to.
Oh, what word did we come up with? Okay.
It's not a word. It's a phrase. I'm going to make it into a word then. Yeah. It's the slow hire, no fire job market. The slow hire, no fire, or the shnuff job market. So it's kind of, if you ask an HR manager how they're doing, they go, I've had shnuff.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing right now. It's a slow hire, no fire job market is generally the tenor of things at the moment. So all in all, not a bad weekly jobless claims number here.
Right.
And look, we had the bad jobs print at the beginning of this month, which really continues to be suggestive of a labor market that is not seeing much hiring because there's not really much on the firing side that's contributing to this. And I think that ultimately it's something where there's still concerns about the labor market because, hey, if hiring is slowing the way that a lot of the other indicators are pointing, it's kind of problematic, but we're still not seeing anything suggestive of a major uptick in unemployment or a major uptick in firings. Right. And I think that can be interpreted as only good news when it comes to the labor market on that side, at least. When you look at some of the other data that is out there, other promising signs that you might be seeing in the labor market that maybe you're starting to turn a corner and maybe see some improvement. Job postings on Indeed are now up 0.5% week over week. They're still down 6.7% year over year. But you've got a little bit of an uptick here. We've seen some of these previously that ultimately have not altered the overall trend, but at least you're seeing a little bit more in terms of job postings. Whether that turns into actual hiring, we don't know. But if you're looking for green shoots, that's the place that you can see it. On the other side of things, if you're looking at wages, the annual percentage change in advertised wages on Indeed, and this is not data that's as close or as recent, month over month down 0.1% for the month of June. We still don't have the July data there. Right. And year over year down 0.2%. So it is something where, again, the newer data that we've gotten on job postings is suggesting a little bit of an uptick there. And so I think the big thing that I'll be interested to see, do we see a similar move on wages? But it's going to be a couple months until we get that data, just because Indeed does not release it right away. If you're looking for other confirmation and other thoughts on this, Paychex puts out a small business jobs index as well. Likewise, May and June both had declines, but when you, and the 12-month number is a decline of 0.05% as well, so a very modest decline in jobs at small businesses in the last 12 months. But the July number was up 0.17%. So again, kind of a modest uptick there. Is this an outlier, or maybe are things starting to strengthen in the labor market? Could be. Again, the jobless claims picture has improved at the same time that some of this other data is. And so I think maybe there's a case that there could be an interesting case that the data in April, May, and June, really weakened in the labor market because companies weren't sure exactly how they wanted to proceed. And maybe some of the data that we're seeing now is, okay, now that companies have digested and understood what their business looks like, maybe they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable in hiring, but
it's a pretty plausible narrative,
right?
It is. Like, I was faced with all these surprise tariffs in April.
So I
paused all my hiring for 3 months. I'm finally at a place now where, like it or dislike it, I know what the tariffs are. I've been paying them for a few months, and I can figure out my business model. I've got a new tax bill that's in place now, so I know my tax rates. I know there's some special deductions for research and development now, and so I can move forward with maybe completely changed hiring plans, but hiring plans that were just put on ice for 3 months.
So maybe,
plausible. Maybe not.
Maybe it's what we're seeing. Again, this is 1 month, or in some cases single weeks of data, and so I think we have to see how things develop over the course of the August, September, and even into the early October data. So it's the third quarter is going to be meaty in terms of, hey, show us how this stuff is actually playing out here. And thus far, when it comes to the labor data, yes, the monthly jobs report, not good by any means, but some of the other stuff, the underlying stuff in surrounding data sets, is starting to show some signs of life for the first time in 6 to 9 months. And so maybe there's a little bit of movement on that side of things. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the other data set that we got this morning, the Producer Price Index. Unfortunately, not quite as good, but we got to talk about it, so we'll do that when we return.
Tariff fever is in high gear. We've got the latest on what might be next and how long it might last, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to plan your winter escape. Trade in the cold for sunshine, sea breezes, and island vibes in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Whether it's a romantic retreat, a family celebration, or a solo recharge before the new year, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John offer the ultimate warm weather getaway. Lounge on sun-drenched beaches, explore vibrant culture, and celebrate the holidays island style. No passport, no hassle, just warm weather, clear blue water, and unforgettable memories. This is where the stress melts away and you find yourself naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Your holiday escape starts here at visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When it comes to legacy planning, having a will is important, but it may not be enough. A will only covers probate assets, and the probate process can be slow, public, and expensive. That's where trusts come in. Trusts can help you avoid probate, keep your wishes private, and control how and when your assets are distributed. Whether you're looking to support family, minimize taxes, or prepare for the unexpected, a well-designed plan can make a meaningful difference. Our new free guide, Leaving a Lasting Legacy, covers wills, trusts, and other strategies to help you build a strong retirement plan. Take the first step towards clarity by calling 800-393-4001 right now and asking for your free guide today. That number again is 800-393-4001 or request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Cushing and Dolan know that no two families are alike, and neither are their estate plans. If you want a stress-free retirement, early planning is key. And for many, trusts are the tool of choice to protect assets and minimize taxes. But here's the challenge. There are dozens of trusts out there, revocable, irrevocable, and each comes with different rules and tax implications. From family trusts to special needs trusts, creditor protection trusts to charitable trusts, each serves a different purpose. Knowing which one fits your situation can make all the difference in your plan. That's why Cushing & Dolan put together a brand new guide demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. It breaks down the most common trust options so you can decide what's right for your family and your future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy, or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Now's a great time to register for the DAV 5K taking place on Saturday, November 8th at Fort Independence on Castle Island. The race has sold out each of the past 4 years, and slots are continuing to fill up quickly, so don't delay. Visit dav5k.boston today and reserve your spot, or join our team here at the Financial Exchange by registering under Team TFE. That's Saturday, November 8th for this year's DAV 5K. Sign up now at dav5k.boston.
So this morning, the other data set that we received was the Producer Price Index, or the PPI, as it is more commonly referred to. It's actually not that commonly referred to because, for being 100% honest, no one really understands the PPI very well, and it's not as interesting as the CPI, and so it kind of gets paid attention to, but no one really cares unless something interesting happens in it.
So, survey of businesses rather than, it's still a survey that's done on prices, but it's specifically what are those prices that are being charged to businesses rather than the prices that are being charged to consumers.
Kind of.
Right.
Because here's the other thing about the Producer Price Index. Every other price index, every other major price index that we look at, and I'm telling you this information so you can understand what it's actually saying and why it may or may not matter. Every other price index that we look at or care about is measured from the perspective of the buyer. The Consumer Price Index is, what did people pay for X during this month? How much did you pay for airfare? How much did you pay for bananas? How much did you pay for shelter? That's what is being asked. Instead, the PPI is backwards. It is focusing on prices received by a seller rather than prices paid by a buyer. And so you have to kind of sit back and be like, whoa, the universe is different from how I thought it was, man. Because that's what the PPI forces you to do. It turns you into a surfer bro. And so ultimately, the way to think about this is, hey, when I am what I am looking at here is a measure of what wholesalers are receiving for intermediate goods paid by final retailers who are then selling out into
restaurants, hotels, airlines.
Give you an example. Let's just look at an example, because it's, again, even like saying this, it's like, Chuck, what the heck are you talking about? You're an idiot. Just like make some sense. I get it. I understand. Let's say that you look at the PPI for cereal, just as an example. What you are actually measuring there is the price received by Kellogg's or General Mills from Whole Foods or Stop and Shop or Publix in order to buy their goods.
Sure.
So that is what the PPI is measuring. And I think that's the easy way to understand it.
And so logically, if we're taking this survey for what it is, one would anticipate that if those prices that suppliers are receiving are going up and doing so in dramatic fashion, that eventually it bleeds through to the consumer price index, the personal consumption expenditures, all these different ways that we have of measuring what you and I pay for when we buy the cereal from the Whole Foods.
There are two ways that you can look at it. The first is it's either going to bleed through. The second is that it could be absorbed as margin compression.
Mm-hmm.
Either one is, has its own problems that we've discussed. So this is all a fancy way of saying PPI this month, both headline and core, moved up at a rate of 0.9%, which pushed headline PPI to 3.3% annually and core PPI to 3.7. Both of these were much hotter than expectations for 0.2% prints on each of them. The interesting thing here to me is when you actually dig in and look under the surface, a lot of the extra increase in the PPI was due to items in the financial services sector. You're welcome. Basically, some of the things that stick out, investment advice saw prices up 3.3% month over month. Insurance up 5.7%. Portfolio management up 5.4%. So this stuff, the portfolio management piece, why this all matters is some of the PPI stuff does filter into PCE and core PCE, which is why people pay attention to it. And so with portfolio management being one of the things that does factor into PCE, it does put some upward pressure on PCE estimates. The ones that I've seen now are suggesting it's most likely somewhere in the 0.3 to 0.4% for core PCE, which would be an acceleration and a hotter number than you'd like to see. But
so
it's also not something that is going to be replicated month over month. Those costs are not going to move up in that fashion each month in those categories. So here's kind of the weird place that I've landed on this is, despite this probably pushing up PCE and core PCE for the month of July, I'm not really sure there's that much meat on this bone when it comes to this PPI report. So it's kind of, hey, headline report is hot, but the underlying
causes
doesn't really look that bad, quite honestly. Which the strange thing is CPI on Wednesday, hey, the headline number looked okay, but the underlying looked kind of gross, and yet markets rallied 1% on that. It's kind of funny that this is the opposite where, hey, the headline looks gross, but I'm not sure this report is actually that bad when you dig into the details. And markets are, having not a sell-off, but markets are down very, very modestly in response. So I just find that kind of interesting because if there's one of these two reports that I would have been more concerned about, it was actually the CPI from a couple days ago. This one, even with the really hot headline number, I kind of look at it under the surface and go, I'm not really sure there's that much there that's going to be a long-term sticking problem, but we'll have to see how future ones develop on this.
The, I guess, interesting thing to me is that it continues the narrative and continues the trend that we've seen, which is we're not really getting inflation from goods.
No, and this is the problematic piece if you want to look at like that CPI report, which is, okay, inflation is starting to broaden from goods and showing up in some other places. And if it ever does hit, more heavily in goods, you've got a problem there. Right. So I think that given all of this, because the only reason why this specific print or that specific print matters right now is because of what the Fed is going to do. Like no one can reliably measure their own inflation month to month. You don't go and buy a new insurance policy for your house every month. You don't go buy a new car every month. It doesn't really matter what inflation does month over month. We experience it over 6 months or a year, over longer time periods. But why this matters is because of what the Fed may or may not do. What this certainly does, there was chatter yesterday of, hey, maybe the Fed's going to go 0.5% in September. Let's pump the brakes on that. I think that this kind of says that. If the market was cool doing 0.25% after Tuesday's CPI report, it's still going to be cool with doing 0.25% after this one. The interesting thing to me is if the jobless claims numbers continue to be good, and let's say we get a bounce-back jobs report in early September.
That's what I asked the other day on Tuesday. I think I asked Martha, it's like, how low does unemployment have to go for the Fed for the Fed to not cut?
Like, let's just play out a hypothetical here. Let's say that the next jobs report is 170,000 jobs created and upward revisions of 80,000 to the previous 2 months. So net gain of like 250,000, relative to where we thought we were. Is the Fed cutting into that with inflation, with core inflation north of 3%?
I think they might. I don't know that they should.
I think they might too, but like at that point, you'd kind of look at it and go, gee, I don't know.
I think what's more important is what the unemployment rate does then.
It is. And look, given the trends that we've seen on the unemployment rate, like there's a convincing case that unemployment in that scenario could drop from 4.1 to 4. How do you cut when unemployment is flat or falling and core PCE is rising?
Yeah, I would. I don't know the answer to it, but I would love to see the debate that heats up in there, because you've had a few governors who are saying, nope, we're on board with the cut, and they're also running for that next candidate. If you get that type of print, you just have you don't have much ground to stand on.
Wouldn't the wild thing be, and again, I have no idea what's going to happen, wouldn't the wild thing be if they end up doing nothing, but they have dissents to both the hawkish and dovish side?
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know if that's happened. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we got Wall Street Watch.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818. 3818.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a new guide available this month titled Leaving a Lasting Legacy. Mike, when it comes to naming beneficiaries on different accounts, what's the thought process that people should be starting with?
Well, first and foremost would be probably you want to do it. I know that seems so basic, but Chuck, I mean, how frequently do we run into this where forget about your investment accounts. Usually those are getting looked at. Your 401k, it's one of the first things you get asked. But I run into people every day that don't realize they can have beneficiary designations on bank accounts, for instance. And what an easy way to avoid frustration after you're gone.
Can you talk a little bit about how much time and effort that can save someone after a loved one passes away when it comes to being able to inherit assets quickly?
Anyone that's been through probate will know the answer to this, but these things can last a year, and it doesn't matter if it's a $5 million estate. Obviously, that's pretty complicated, but a $10,000 checking account could also need to go through probate, and it could take an equal amount of time depending on the complexities involved. And so there are a lot of benefits that are out there when it comes to just utilizing the tools that are made available to you, and beneficiaries is a big one.
Folks, the guide is titled Leaving a Lasting Legacy, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. Again, the guide is titled Leaving a Lasting Legacy. It discusses beneficiary designations and a whole lot more. And the way to request it again is by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, markets are mixed right now at 10:34. The Dow Jones is down 97 points, or just over 0.2%. The S&P 500 is just barely down 1.54 points, or 0.02%. The Nasdaq, on the other hand, is up 17.5 points, or 0.08%. As traders continue to digest this morning's PPI data and the jobless claims data. Coach New York and Kate Spade parent Tapestry is down 15% after its full-year outlook missed analyst estimates. Tapestry forecast full-year earnings of $5.30 to $5.45 per share, while analysts polled were looking for $5.49. Farm equipment maker Deere is down 7% after Deere trimmed the top end of its full-year outlook. The Moline, Illinois-based manufacturer forecasts net income of $4.75 billion to $5.25 billion versus a previous forecast of $4.75 billion to $5.5 billion. Bullish shares are up 22%. The stock soared more than 83% yesterday, its first day as a public company. And finally, Kratos Defense and Security Solutions shares are up 3.7% after BTIG upgraded the defense stock to buy on Thursday. Analysts said the company could be a key beneficiary of wider defense budgets. I am Ben Kitchen, and that was Wall Street Watch.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal. Blue states hunt for ways to wring more taxes from the wealthy, including a Taylor Swift tax.
That is going to be so popular. I kind of love the idea of just naming unpopular things after popular celebrities.
So, like, okay, what's a Beyonce tax going to be? And, hey, this one, hey, we're going to do a Fred Astaire tax, you know, like, if you...
Can we do it after dead famous people?
Sure,
too?
why not? They can't object.
Yeah, the Robin Williams tax. Here we go.
Just
beloved
tax
people.
No, here's the Charlemagne tax.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's happening here. Massachusetts implemented a few years ago the millionaire's tax,
the Napoleon tax, paid by short people to tall people.
Do like that one. So the Massachusetts millionaire's tax went into effect, what was that, 23, 24?
2022 was when it was approved. 23 was the first year of collection. Yeah,
and estimates were for that to raise, at least initial projections that I'm seeing were that it would generate about $1 billion annually. In 2024, the thing generated 2.2. We've talked about on this program.
In the most recent year now, the 2025 year, it
reaching towards 3, right?
It got 2.9 versus estimates of 1.3 billion.
Right. So I think a lot of states are kind of salivating over what's happened in Massachusetts. B, losing out on some federal revenue from things like Medicaid cuts and wondering what to do about it all. We've talked about the Massachusetts case, and I'm sure we'll get back to it. The point that I made at the time is, look, you can get to any other state within 45 minutes. This is not something that will be terribly successful over the long term. But in the short term, you're not about to tear your business out of the state of Massachusetts overnight and try and relocate it elsewhere. And so, I think that this has been, in the eyes of lawmakers, in fact, considerably more successful than initially anticipated. And other states are looking longingly, I think.
So I think the other piece on this that we're just going to need, unfortunately, 5 or so years of information in order to make judgments on. You mentioned, someone might not, uproot their lives or business right away, but maybe over longer time spans they do.
Right.
That's one possibility. Another possibility is, hey, there were a bunch of people that took off from the Northeast and headed to Florida and Texas and, parts unknown back in 2021 and 22. We've started to see, just from a housing data perspective, signs that migration has abated and may in some cases be reversing on the margins as well. And so I guess part of my question is also, a lot of these other states that saw these big influxes of people were hailed as being, hugely successful during that time. Given what we're seeing now, I think we just need more time to see if that was a short-term trend or something that's, longer term. And so I guess where I'm going on this is we need more time. Because just because things haven't happened yet don't mean that they're not going to in the future. The case in point is, look at Florida just as an example. In 21 and 22, when we saw all of the migration data with Florida and Texas being huge net beneficiaries, everyone was saying, oh, this is the model. This is what you have to do now. And today it doesn't quite feel that way with what we're seeing as far as housing inventories in Florida, cost of insurance and property taxes and things like that have moved up.
Right.
We're not really seeing the same thing now. So I think it's easy in the case of Massachusetts to take a victory lap here and say, hey, it's been 2 years and this is doing so much, creating so much additional revenue for the state beyond what we thought. Of course, this is the model. This is what all states should be doing. But how do we know that this isn't going to be a short-term thing just like we saw from those other states? And 2 years from now, it's, oh, gee, the millionaires actually moved and maybe this isn't. Now, I'm not saying that will or won't. I'm just saying to definitively say, hey, after, a year or two, well, this works, we should do it, isn't really enough time. I know in today's world, a year or two can feel like forever because with social media, that's 7,000 news cycles that you go through.
Right.
But a year or two is a really short period of time to say that a public policy works or doesn't work.
Yeah, I remember, this is going back a number of years, and I don't remember specifically what New Jersey did, but I remember a number of years ago, New Jersey implemented a new tax. One taxpayer moved out of the state, and it resulted in a giant hole in their overall budget. And so, yeah, it can take a little while for these things to play out. And I just keep going back, right? If you're in Massachusetts earning $10 million a year, which I know is not a lot of people, but clearly it's enough people to raise a lot of revenue for the Commonwealth, the math really starts to work against you when you consider that versus New Hampshire. Just
Sure.
You're talking about a lot of money when you're talking about those two. And at those net worths, you don't care quite as much about the public school system. You don't care quite as much about the services that you might get because you're not utilizing many of them when you're talking about $10 million a year in income.
Sure, I could see that.
So we will see. I mean, across the country, they're talking about all sorts of different things. Connecticut's floating a new tax on those earning more than $500,000. Maryland is considering something new. Rhode Island, with their Taylor Swift tax, is talking about expensive vacation properties that might be taxed. There's a lot of different questions that are out there, but I think the trend in the short term is going to be, in those blue states at least, hey, we're missing out on federal funding. Where can we raise taxes? And the trend, at least recently, has been go after the wealthiest residents.
Let's take a quick break here. When we return, Big Pharma and Mattresses, the mashup you never knew you wanted, right after this. Mike, I've been told that we need to continue talking about Big Pharma and the mattresses.
Yeah, we're having some computer problems. So
the AI's fighting back.
We're not actually talking about selling the two together, I don't think. But the business model of mattresses, the big pharmas want to go and mimic it.
So here's the point that's being made here, is mattress companies in recent years have taken to selling direct to consumer.
Yep.
A whole bunch of different brands out there that advertise now, and you get a mattress shipped to you and you get a 30-day free trial, and hey, if you can get it back in that box, you can return it, no problems, no questions asked.
Used to buy it at Sears, now you buy it directly from Purple.
Or there's a bunch of them out there. Purple, tons. Avocado was one for a little bit. I don't know how they name these things, but, it is what it is. And Big Pharma's talking about doing this as a way to get costs down. And
got a lot of questions.
I've got some questions, too, on this. Because here's the thing about buying a mattress, is you buy a mattress and you don't have to ask permission to buy the mattress or anything, whereas typically you need a prescription and a whole processing center. And granted, you can set these up. There are plenty of companies that have done that. The big one that's out there right now is Hims and Hers Health. But,
do you know, the details of that? I want to say the way it works is you get a medical consultation from Hims and Hers Health, who prescribes medicine to you.
Correct.
Which
is different from setting up a system to receive prescriptions from a vast network of doctors nationwide.
Right. And just think about a massive conflict of interest there, right? I work as an employee for a company who makes money selling drugs, and my job is to determine whether or not you are going to benefit from those drugs.
Well, and beyond that, there's also some questions just about basically what they're actually selling is compounded versions of other drugs in most cases. And so how long does the FDA, or even in some cases you could look at the FTC from a patent infringement perspective, allow for that to happen? And there are some questions there.
But, different for Eli Lilly, right? They own these drugs.
Correct.
They could do this too. But, man, I just wouldn't trust them to.
Well, and here's the other piece is, and I'll quote here from, is this Barron's? I think so. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are already selling their obesity injections straight to consumers at prices well below list price, though still above what insured patients would pay at the pharmacy counter.
Right.
So what's the incentive for me to do that? Kind of tough. Obviously, it could potentially bring the overall cost down, the cost structure in the U.S., but it doesn't change the fact that you personally are paying more. So it's kind of why would I do that?
I guess if I don't want to have health insurance anymore, which seems like a pretty narrow
Which if I'm on
base.
obesity drugs, I would think I would want to.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking Google and Chrome after this.
Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Cushing and Dolan know that no two families are alike, and neither are their estate plans. If you want a stress-free retirement, early planning is key. And for many, trusts are the tool of choice to protect assets and minimize taxes. But here's the challenge. There are dozens of trusts out there, revocable, irrevocable, and each comes with different rules and tax implications. From family trusts to special needs trusts, creditor protection trust to charitable trusts, each serves a different purpose. Knowing which one fits your situation can make all the difference in your plan. That's why Cushing & Dolan put together a brand new guide demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. It breaks down the most common trust options so you can decide what's right for your family and your future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When it comes to legacy planning, having a will is important, but it may not be enough. A will only covers probate assets, and the probate process can be slow, public, and expensive. That's where trusts come in. Trust can help you avoid probate, keep your wishes private, and control how and when your assets are distributed. Whether you're looking to support family, minimize taxes, or prepare for the unexpected, a well-designed plan can make a meaningful difference. Our new free guide, Leaving a Lasting Legacy, covers wills, trusts, and other strategies to help you build a strong retirement plan. Take the first step towards clarity by calling 800-393-4001 right now and asking for your free guide today. That number again is 800-393-4001 or request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to plan your winter escape. Trade in the cold for sunshine, sea breezes, and island vibes in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Whether it's a romantic retreat, a family celebration, or a solo recharge before the new year, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John offer the ultimate warm weather getaway. Lounge on sun-drenched beaches, explore vibrant culture, and celebrate the holidays island style. No passport, no hassle, just warm weather, clear blue water, and unforgettable memories. This is where the stress melts away and you find yourself naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Your holiday escape starts here at visitusvi.com.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
It happens all over Massachusetts,
Can you tie my shoes?
in every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Piece in CNBC talking about Google and its Chrome browser. And basically, look, Google has been going through a couple of different antitrust trials that one of them, I'm trying to remember when it finished. Was it earlier this year or late last year?
I couldn't tell you.
But basically, they're awaiting a judge's decision in one of the trials as to whether they have to start divesting portions of the company. And, clearly the stuff that's being, that everyone wants to speculate on is, are they going to have to, sell off YouTube, or are they going to have to, split their search and ad business? And meanwhile, Perplexity, who is an artificial intelligence company with revenues in the millions, might I add, not billions, Perplexity comes along earlier this week and decides, shooter's going to shoot, and makes a $34.5 billion bid that, by the way, they do have lines of credit and stuff that could, get there and, some equity financing that they could figure out in theory.
So Perplexity, just for those listening, AI generation company, similar to the likes of GPT?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's more they've really built it to try to be a search engine specifically.
Okay.
And so it's really focused on trying to replace search more than, conversational chatbots and things along those lines.
So one could see how owning the most popular browser in the world would be beneficial to them.
Sure. Obviously, like you think about the amount of information and data that you could gather from that browser and use, and you say, okay, like I get this. And, Perplexity is just trying to be opportunistic. I don't think Google's going to take them up on this just because...
No, but it's evidence that the judge might now need to consider. Like, what are these things worth on their own? Is it reasonable to cause a breakup?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not a judge. I've never presided over anything, but this is, a private company putting a price tag on one of the things you might force them to sell.
And the big thing is Chrome is... just a huge. It has. If you look at browser market share and kind of where things stand right now, and this is according to data from Cloudflare, who's a big back-end provider for basically like DNS systems and internet services for companies. If you look at browser share right now, Chrome is far and away in Q1 the largest browser in the country. It's got 63% of the browser market. Next is Safari at 17%. So all you Apple fans out there, that's you. Microsoft Edge is a distant third at 7%.
Man, Microsoft just can't get anyone to use their browser.
And then who's using Firefox still? About 4% of users. There's something called Samsung Internet that gets 2% of users. And then you've got people that are still on Opera for some reason. And then you just get into stuff that I've never heard of, quite honestly. I don't know what the Yandex browser is. I don't know what the QQ browser is, the Vivo browser, UC browser, Me browser, something that's just called Whale is out there. And so, getting Chrome would obviously be a big coup, but... I don't even know if this is a viable bid just from a dollar value perspective, given how much market share it has.
The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to plan your winter escape. Trading the cold for sunshine, sea breezes, and island vibes in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Whether it's a romantic retreat, a family celebration, or a solo recharge before the new year, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John offer the ultimate warm weather getaway. Lounge on sun-drenched beaches, explore vibrant culture, and celebrate the holidays island style. No passport, no hassle, just warm weather, clear blue water, and unforgettable memories. This is where the stress melts away and you find yourself naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Your holiday escape starts here at visitusvi.com.
Mike, it looks like, according to this piece from the Financial Times, Italy is going through the same thing that the U.S. has gone through recently, which, here's the headline, How Dogs Replace Children in Italy. You got grand dogs that are being born in Italy, too, not just in the U.S.,
All right, so I don't have any problem with pet ownership. I own 2 pets myself. I just
That's what
wonder,
they want you to think, Mike. But if the aliens came down and saw you picking up all their droppings...
They would think I'm pretty strange.
Yeah,
yes.
Who's really in charge here?
Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni's government has begun allocating €250,000 a year for an animal bonus to help elderly pet owners with limited incomes cover some of their veterinary expenses. What? Why would we do that? Italy, you have a massive demographics problem of people not having enough kids, and instead of allocating resources to figuring out that one, you're giving money to people to make sure that they can afford to keep their pets up to date on their shots.
Gonna be honest, I'm kind of okay with it. Fine.
Spend your money how you want.
It's clear
glad we're not.
It's clear that like trying to incentivize childbirth through money is not working.
I get it.
Go have a dog. It's man's best friend. Get a cat if you wanted to. No problem. Quick break here. Hour 2 coming up in a bit.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine, no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to plan your winter escape. Trade in the cold for sunshine, sea breezes, and island vibes in the U.S. Virgin Islands. America's Caribbean paradise. Whether it's a romantic retreat, a family celebration, or a solo recharge before the new year, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John offer the ultimate warm weather getaway. Lounge on sun-drenched beaches, explore vibrant culture, and celebrate the holidays island style. No passport, no hassle. Just warm weather, clear blue water, and unforgettable memories. This is where the stress melts away and you find yourself naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Your holiday escape starts here at visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. If you have an IRA, it's critical to understand the tax rules that may affect your family as you plan for retirement. Current law requires most non-spouse beneficiaries to withdraw the full balance of an inherited IRA within 10 years, which may lead to higher taxes and reduced value over time. If beneficiary designations are outdated or incorrect, they could possibly override your will and change how your assets are distributed. That's why we're offering a new guide called Leaving a Lasting Legacy, a resource to help you better understand inherited IRAs and other legacy planning topics that could affect your future. Make an informed choice and take control of your plan. Call 800-393-4001 and ask for your free guide today. That's 800-393-4001 or request your copy online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about your new guide, Todd, Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Now, do you lose control if you transfer your assets to an irrevocable trust in order to protect them from long-term care expenses?
Well, that's great when you mention that irrevocable trust, but limit it to the kind of trust where you're protecting it from the cost of long-term care. Because as the guide says, there's 7 different kinds of trusts that we're trying to demystify. And there's also many kinds of irrevocable trusts out there, not just one type. So many people think there's just one type. But this particular type, where you're trying to protect it from the cost of long-term care expenses, the answer is no. You do not lose control over your assets. There's a whole spectrum of control with irrevocable trusts. And this one, you keep about 95% control. Like, you can live in your house, you can sell your house, you can buy another house, you can invest your money, you can manage your money, you can collect the income. Even the tax liability of these trusts are designed to be at your own rate. In other words, they are grantor trusts. You don't even pay any higher income taxes when you have this irrevocable trust. So this kind of trust, folks, you keep control and you protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Call right now for your free copy of Cushing & Dolan's comprehensive guide titled Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. It will help you determine what type of trust is right for you and your family. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Not Tucker with you today.
His name is Ben. This joke is old.
Chuck, Mike, and Not Tucker with you today. What do you mean this joke is old?
I don't know.
I have not had a single listener complaint about Not Tucker.
Yeah.
And that means that Not Tucker is doing a fantastic job.
Okay.
You can refer to me however you want. I don't care. You know, you could call me idiot. You could call me dummy. You could call me doo-doo head. Whatever works for you. But in any case, I like to focus on what markets are telling us. And markets are telling us not much of anything today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 92 points. The S&P is down 3. The NASDAQ is flat. So not much going on. This on the back of a weekly jobless claims report that was pretty darn good. Jobless claims dropping 3,000 from the prior week on the initial side of things, and continuing claims dropping as well, and now running about 5% higher annually than a year ago. So nothing really concerning on that side. The producer price index data that we received this morning came in much hotter than expectations at 0.9% month over month for both core and headline relative to expectations of 0.2%. I'm actually of the opinion, and I know this is kind of a weird thing to say when it comes in that hot, that this is actually not that bad of a report, since a lot of the push was caused by a few narrow areas that came in really hot for the month. I'm actually more concerned about the CPI report that we got that was cheered a couple days ago by markets. And so
I'm going to channel my inner Mark Fandetti here for a moment, and you shouldn't look at the individual components and worry about their individual pieces, and we should look at the trend a few months from now to see if the inflation in the financial sector disseminates to other areas.
I guess my point is, like, this is in an area that it usually doesn't. You know, like it increases in the PPI component for, you know, financial services, specifically like portfolio management, which is a pass-through to PCE.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually have staying power to spread elsewhere. It's not something where you would have that happen. So that's why I kind of look at this and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, it was hot. It's not really good. Like, I can't look at this report and be like, hey, this is great, but I'm also not really freaked out about it. On the other hand, I kind of look at what we saw from the CPI the other day and say, yeah, the headline's a little bit, you know, is fine at 0.2. The core number's hot and showing acceleration, and there's signs that inflation's broadening when you look at the percentage of components that are now growing at more than a 3% clip annually. And so I've got more concerns about that CPI report, quite honestly, than this PPI one. So I poo-poo the PPI.
There you go.
Is where I'm at in analyzing this. Let's see. What do we want to talk about here? Can we talk about FOMO?
Yeah.
I want to talk about FOMO, and let's even talk about it in the context of 401ks, because these are two different things, actually, and I think this is a really good conversation we can have. There's a piece in Market Watch that says, if you're feeling FOMO, fear of missing out, envy and greed, why do we have to say FOMO? Like, what, you know, like, isn't there, like, an actual word for that? There has to be more than just an acronym.
Fear of missing out? I don't know. We can create a... No, the word is FOMO.
Well, I know
it's now common enough that, you know, everyone knows what we're talking about.
I don't like that.
Okay.
And I'm someone who normally likes to see language evolve.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, I kind of hate acronyms. I think they're cheap alternatives to actual creativity in language. But why MMV? Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
See, exactly. When I use the acronym, you're like, that's dumb. Exactly.
There's
Thank
no
you.
vowels in your acronym.
YMV. YMV. Anyways, if you're feeling FOMO, envy, and greed about record stock prices, you're not alone. That's how market bubbles form. And what it's talking about is, hey, if you've been on the sidelines watching this market run for the last 3 months since mid-April, and you start being like, oh, gee, like, I need to, you know, get into this now, that can provide, you know, the leg for additional moves up. Or if you're someone who's been in the market and you're like, oh, this can never go down, and you start pouring more money in, that can provide that leg as well, and that's how bubbles form. And eventually, bubbles pop at some point, because they always do. You can't have markets that are untethered from reality permanently. Now, they can pop in different ways, by the way, might I add. A lot of people don't know this. We already went through an AI bubble in the last 2 years. Tech stocks rallied hard from December of 22 through June of 24. Really hard. Like all of 23 and the first half of 24, tech stocks, specifically like NVIDIA and Microsoft and those guys, were just absolutely ripping. They then, for the next 9 months, underperformed the index pretty dramatically. They kind of popped. But markets correct in two different ways. They can correct through price or they can correct through time, sometimes through a combination of them. And most of us are more familiar with markets correcting through price, where something goes up a crazy amount and then falls a crazy amount. What we are less familiar with is something correcting through time. And my example of something correcting through time, I'll actually go and look at Tesla, which is a stock that I think we've all talked about at one point or another as being bubblicious, right?
Indeed.
Tesla stock in January of 21 was $294 a share. So 4.5 years ago, it was $294. Today, it's $336, meaning it's gone up 10% over that time, with obviously some big peaks and valleys, in the interim. But when we look at the S&P 500 and look at how it has performed, and I'm looking in total return terms, when we look at it over the same time span, the S&P has gone up by about 170%. And so, I'm sorry, that number is not right. Give me just 1 second, because I had the starting point inaccurate in this case. It has gone up by 84%, not 170. I doubled it by mistake. So my point on all of this is to say, look, when you're looking at something that's overpriced, it doesn't necessarily have to get hammered and just stay down. Sometimes the correction can come through it just not really going anywhere over an extended period. Other stocks that have done this, just as an example, you look at some of the stocks that got blown up real big in the tech bubble, and Microsoft, while it did go through a meaningful pullback, it still pulled back 50%. It then kind of just treaded water there and hung out for about 10 years before it finally did anything interesting. And so I think that when we talk about, concern about a bubble, the things that I always come back to are, hey, look, there's usually actually a lot of money to be made in bubbles on the upside. It's not saying, don't participate in them, but just buyer beware, because they can go on for a while, as the tech bubble did.
The danger I see with the FOMO piece, right? The example you gave is the guy that was sitting on the sideline, the guy or gal that was sitting on the sideline and is now sitting there kicking themselves and wondering if they jump in. My personal perspective on that is that's the same exact person to run away when it drops by 20%.
Correct. Like if you've been on the sidelines this whole time because you're nervous and now the price is high enough that you want to buy in, you decide to do it. I mean, guys, the idea behind stocks is pretty simple. Buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
You're literally doing the opposite if you've been on the sidelines and now we're saying, well, the coast is clear. It's time to jump in. Yeah.
Just because the news has gotten better doesn't mean that that's the time to jump in, right? Like the market is up because the news got better.
As Senor Buffet likes to say, buy when there's blood in the streets. The new phrase, I guess, it's... I don't know what the market's going to do tomorrow or the year after or any of that. But what I do know is if you were too afraid to buy at the bottom and now you feel comfortable because, it feels safe, that's not really how stocks work. Now, you can also make a case, hey, the best time to buy stocks for the long run historically has always been yesterday. And so, yeah, if you're willing to accept that buying today might still be the wrong choice, okay, it's still probably better than waiting another 10 or 15 years. But even that, you don't know, just because equity markets might not do the same thing they've done for the last 100 years. The 401k piece I feel very differently about, because generally we're talking about people who are dollar cost averaging. And my general view on 401ks and how people invest in them is that they typically get too conservative, whereas if you're dollar cost averaging in, I think you should probably be a little bit more aggressive because you can always keep adding to them on a consistent, regularly scheduled basis.
Yeah. At least in my experience, too, people treat their 401k completely differently from how they treat, say, cash on the sideline or any, and they should.
In a good way or bad way?
I think in a good way. I think most people that I run into tend to just say, nope, it's my 401k, whatever is going to happen. Like, that's where I'm not going to ever touch it or try to actively manage it or move things around in there, because that's the holy grail. That's the 401k. I never touch that.
Let's take a quick break here, and when we return, we'll do a little bit of trivia, and then we're talking Amazon launching a whole new, well, it's not really a whole new business, but Amazon coming for another business that they're going to try to take over right after this.
The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132, weekdays from 11 to noon. Get the latest business and financial news from across the country and around the world, and keep up to date on how it might affect your wallet. That's the Financial Exchange, weekdays from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Cushing and Dolan know that no two families are alike, and neither are their estate plans. If you want a stress-free retirement, early planning is key. And for many, trusts are the tool of choice to protect assets and minimize taxes. But here's the challenge. There are dozens of trusts out there, revocable, irrevocable, and each comes with different rules and tax implications. From family trusts to special needs trusts, creditor protection trust to charitable trusts, each serves a different purpose. Knowing which one fits your situation can make all the difference in your plan. That's why Cushing and Dolan put together a brand new guide demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. It breaks down the most common trust options so you can decide what's right for your family and your future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing and Dolan. Cushing and Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Subscribe to our page and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Time now for trivia on the Financial Exchange, and we're going to continue our look at some World War II trivia as we round out August. And everyone knows the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, but many either don't know or have forgotten the U.S. dropped a second atomic bomb on a Japanese city. Today's question is, what was the second Japanese city that was hit by an atomic bomb? What was the second Japanese city that was hit by an atomic bomb? Be the third person who texts us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you'll win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. The third correct response will be our winner. See the complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Amazon is going to be launching same-day delivery of meat, eggs, and produce in more than 1,000 cities. Now, I can't even name 1,000 cities, Michael. I stop after about 8 right now, and that's kind of the limitations of my my brain. But I got to admit, this piece from CNBC, the company announced Wednesday it's bringing its service to more than 1,000 U.S. cities and towns, including Raleigh, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida, and Milwaukee. Why'd you pick those 3 to tell me out of the 1,000? Like, what are those
historically underserved by food delivery?
Is Raleigh, North Carolina, like underserved by DoorDash right now? Is Tampa, Florida? Is Milwaukee?
Why is this such a big deal?
Why it's a big deal is that it's going to put a bunch of pressure on Instacart and DoorDash, who right now have a hold on this business.
Food delivery has not gotten terribly, or grocery delivery in particular, has not gotten what I would describe as so popular that it's caused grocery stores to completely reshape their business over the last 5 years. I have a tough time believing that Amazon doing it is going to do anything more than Instacart created.
Walk me through. No, I don't think.
I think the people that want food delivery right now, grocery delivery, can get it.
Yes, I think you're missing my point.
Yeah, it's going to eat up Instacart's business a little bit.
I think Instacart is screwed.
Yeah, that might be true.
Now, you might say, oh, this is only going to be, from Whole Foods, and so, there's a limited, number of people that do that. But I don't see anything in here that specifies this is just Whole Foods related.
Yeah, there's nothing specifically mentioned there, but I just don't believe that they're going to start shipping stuff from...
They're not. And the reason that I think we can know this is that if you look at how many Whole Foods locations there are in the country, there are this is a couple years out of date, but there aren't even 1,000. So you can't have service in 1,000 different cities if you're going to be doing it just from Whole Foods distribution facilities. It seems to me that this is going to be okay. They're going to be portions of, warehouses that are going to be refrigerated and dedicated to doing this.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think this is, fundamentally a different approach that they might be taking here. Now, is this going to mean that we all start doing grocery delivery? No, look, I'll be honest. I probably do grocery delivery 5 to 10 times a year. And it's usually, hey, family's been away, for the last week. We're getting home on a Saturday and we need food because we don't have any. Great, let's do it.
What's been your experience? Because mine has been generally bad.
I would say I typically try to avoid it, and the 2 reasons why are I can't pick the produce, and I'm the guy, I get in there and I'm licking the produce in the store to make sure it's good before I buy it.
That makes sense, yeah.
And the other piece...
fits the profile.
The other piece is the substitutions, which I know you can specify, like, don't substitute this, but then it's like, okay, now I'm just not getting anything. In a lot of cases, the substitutions are not good, and in some cases, just downright humorous, like, hey, we couldn't find pistachio ice cream, so here's mint because it's also green.
Yeah.
Those aren't the same things.
Yeah. I guess that's my point, is that my experience with that was pretty bad. I don't know that Amazon is going to be able to do it much better. So, yeah, I think this might, like the article talks about all these ramifications for all sorts of different grocery stores, and I don't see it. I see ramifications for Instacart, and that's about it. I think that they are going to eat up a larger portion of a limited market of those who actually want their groceries delivered.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you get in the grocery store and you're looking at the raspberries, and you know that half the packages aren't the ones you want. And those are the ones that usually end up being delivered to you. You're in the grocery store and you're in the milk section. Hey, there's one that expires on 8/29. There's one on 8/22. Guess which one you're getting delivered?
Yeah.
8/22.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big believer, and look, I like food and I'm Italian, which is the worst possible combination for groceries. You know, it's like I need to have...
It is just amazing you're not 300 pounds.
You know, I attribute it to two things. I don't drink any soda, and I've run so much that my knees are borderline useless, before I even get to middle age.
Yep, that'll do it.
So, like, the combination of those, we'll see which ones hold up, as we get older. We're not through the race yet, Michael. There's still a long way to go. And
knee technology's come a long way, though, Chuck.
Knowing what I know from people that have gone through the knee replacements, it hasn't come that long away.
Yeah,
it's the hips are great these days. I hear the hips, you're in and out.
My prediction on Amazon's food delivery: it will eat Instacart's lunch, and not expand the market. I don't see it.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And it still doesn't mean it won't be a good business for them. It can be, but it's an incremental one, not something...
It's not
revolutionary. It's not burrito drones. It's, which, we've talked about my thoughts on those. But it's an evolution, not a revolution. Taking a look at stocks as we head towards the bottom of the hour, the Dow Jones is off now 155 points. The S&P is off 15, and the NASDAQ off about 61. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got the trivia answer, we got Wall Street Watch, and then we're talking about what's the ideal withdrawal rate from your portfolio once you're retired.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. A trust isn't just a document. It's a powerful tool that can help protect your assets from the nursing home and even reduce or eliminate estate taxes. Cushing & Dolan are leaders in elder law, estate planning, and asset protection. This month, they're offering a free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. This guide breaks down the most common types of trusts, explains the pros and cons of each, and helps you understand which might be right for you and your family. Trusts come with different rules, benefits, and tax treatment, and choosing the wrong one could cost you. Learning the differences now can help you make smarter decisions for your future and your loved ones. Trusts are a critical part of any well-designed estate plan, but they can be complex. Don't guess your way through it. Get the facts first. Call Cushing & Dolan now at 866-848-5699 to request your free copy, or visit LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The holidays are just around the corner, so now's the time to plan your winter escape. Trade in the cold for sunshine, sea breezes, and island vibes in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Whether it's a romantic retreat, a family celebration, or a solo recharge before the new year, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John offer the ultimate warm weather getaway. Lounge on sun-drenched beaches, explore vibrant culture, and celebrate the holidays island style. No passport, no hassle, just warm weather, clear blue water, and unforgettable memories. This is where the stress melts away and you find yourself naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. Your holiday escape starts here at visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we've got a guide available this month titled Leaving a Lasting Legacy. Mike, one of the things that people have to navigate now is figuring out which accounts to leave to different beneficiaries. As an example, if someone has two children, one in a high tax bracket, one in a low tax bracket, how does that potentially impact who receives which assets?
Well, let's call it out. First and foremost, most commonly, people just divide equally.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I get the fairness argument with all of this. But taking your example here, let's imagine we have one person with an average effective tax rate of 10% and another one with 25%. Obviously, there's going to be a massive difference in terms of what is left over with a traditional IRA, for example, for that person in the 25% bracket versus the 10. And so with the new rules over the last few years when it comes to requiring those accounts to be emptied over the course of 10 years in most cases, especially on the retirement account front, there's a lot of different stuff that can be looked at there. That doesn't even take into account things like non-retirement accounts, Chuck, right?
Sure.
So for those, you have a different set of rules that applies to those, generally pretty preferential tax treatment, and so you can be really intentional about how you leave the biggest legacy possible to your heirs as a whole.
Folks, the guide is titled Leaving a Lasting Legacy. The way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. Again, the guide is called Leaving a Lasting Legacy, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, it's 11:34, and there's a fair amount of red on the board. The Dow Jones is down 141 points, or 0.3%. The S&P 500 is down 0.2%, or 12.65 points, and the Nasdaq is down just over 50 points, also about 0.2%. The Coach New York and Kate Spade parent Tapestry is down 14.5% after its full-year outlook missed analyst estimates. Tapestry forecasts full-year earnings of $5.30 to $5.45 per share, while analysts were looking for $5.49. Farm equipment maker Deere is down 8% after Deere trimmed the top end of its full-year outlook. The Moline, Illinois-based manufacturer forecasts net income of $4.75 billion to $5.25 billion versus a previous forecast of $4.75 billion to $5.5 billion. Bullish shares are up 9% today. The stock had soared more than 83% yesterday, which was its first day as a public company. And finally, Kratos Defense and Security Solutions shares are up 1.1% after BTIG upgraded the defense stock to buy today. Analysts said the company could be a key beneficiary of wider defense budgets. I am Ben Kitchen, and that is Wall Street Watch. And on the trivia front, today's question is, what was the name of the second city that was hit by second Japanese city that was hit by an atomic bomb? And your answer was Nagasaki. Today's winner is Gary in Long Meadow. He will be taking home that Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. We play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, when we talk about a safe withdrawal rate in retirement, the percentage that's typically talked about is 4%. It comes from a study by, what's Bengen's first name?
Does he have one? Bill. Probably William.
Sure it's not William? Let's call him William.
Yeah, William Bengen.
William Bengen.
He wrote this study years ago, and to clarify what the 4% withdrawal rule actually is, you take a married couple at the age of 65, you allocate their portfolio to, these days it's 55% stocks, 40% bonds, 5% cash, which is not terribly specific. I would want a bit more specificity there. But nonetheless, you grab those allocations, and then you test out what's a portion of the portfolio that you can take out starting at age 65, lasting for 30 years, and adjusting for inflation each year. And his question is, hey, what's a safe number where you wouldn't have run out of money historically? And what he found is if you test it over the last 100 years, it's a heck of a lot more than 7% for most people.
Sure.
Most people that have lived over the last 100 years, if you take a 30-year random sample, most people can pull out closer to 7%. But his view for decades now has been, when you're talking about a mature economy like the United States, you wouldn't expect it to grow quite as much as it did over the last 100 years.
Correct.
And so he's redone this study and now is finding that, over the last 100 years, even 4.7% was still doable compared to the 4% rule previously. But I think where this is useful and where it's not is worth discussing, Chuck. It is a useful rule of thumb, I think, for people to take a look and say, am I within the plausible range of how much I need to save for retirement?
Correct.
Right? Like if you're looking at it and saying, okay, I'm going to have Social Security in the future, I'm going to have this, that, and I will have 4% of my annual portfolio's worth. And you look at that and say, that is more than enough. That's a pretty good rule of thumb as to, am I on the right path?
I think even beyond that, looking at it from the perspective of, hey, let me take a range of different withdrawal rates. Call it 3%, 4%, and 5%. How many of those am I comfortable with in the event that I'm retiring? If I retire and let's say market performance is bad for 20 years, would I be okay at a 3% withdrawal rate instead of 4%?
Right.
If the answer is no, it doesn't mean don't retire. It just means, hey, how do you develop contingency plans in the event that you can't pull out as much as you thought? If you say, yeah, I can do that, okay, I feel great. Well, what if I need to get to 5%? Okay, now you need a bigger set of contingency plans. In what cases, can you reduce that because you can't make those withdrawals? Or, hey, if it's all necessities that's feeding into that, do we actually have to work a little bit longer, or maybe carry a part-time job through retirement?
The 4% rule is many things, but it's definitely not a specific strategy for retirement. Because the other thing,
nor is it actually a rule.
Right. Yeah. We talk about laws and other sciences. This is not any sort of actual rule that will
should be the 4%
true.
test.
Yeah. 4% test is a good one because it's held true historically. Doesn't mean crap for the future.
No.
The important things to think about here. One, I do hear people kind of taking this a step further and being like, well, where's my 4% this year? I need to take out my, no, that's not necessarily how you want to go about things, because what that doesn't do is account for the fact that nobody in the world's expenses are flat and steady with inflation.
Correct. There are years where you might have a car that you need to buy.
Your daughter gets married. Your furnace blows.
There's other years where you're like, oh, my health isn't that good, and I don't need to spend that much because I can't travel or do some of the fun things that I want to do.
Right. So I think the important thing, like we said, this rule is a good, lick your finger, put it in the air, and see how I'm doing. It is not much beyond that, and a small change to his methodology and thinking that, hey, now maybe 4.7% instead of 4% is good. My point would be, if you're being that specific with this, then you're probably missing the point of the test in the first place. If you have questions about how the 4% quote rule might apply to your own retirement, please give the folks at Armstrong Advisory Group a call. Like we said, it's a useful benchmark, but it's not much more than that, and financial planning involves personal scenarios. You can call our office at 393-4001. Again, that's the Armstrong Advisory Group. You can reach us by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Let's see. I want to talk about artificial intelligence. The last few days I've been in a very positive mood about AI because of some positive experiences that I've had, using it as kind of a search engine replacement. I want to talk about the suck of AI because there's a bunch of it out there, quite honestly. First are the studies that are now popping up that basically show the more you use AI to do your own thinking, the less thinking you can actually do, which is not really surprising. Talk to any pilot and they'll tell you, hey, my skills atrophy if I spend more time using the autopilot as opposed to flying the plane myself.
So it melts your brain, basically.
It does. The other one that I found, and this is a story from Reuters today, which is this today actually? Hang on, yes, it is today. This is titled, Meta's Flirty AI chatbot invited a retiree to New York. He never made it home. And this is the really dark stuff. So basically, guy is from New Jersey, and he's 76 years old. He had a stroke within the last year and generally was not acting well. And his wife was starting to look at long-term care options for him, but it was early in the process, and they were trying to figure out what would work best. Long story short, he starts talking with an AI persona from Meta called Big Sis Billy, who apparently was originally modeled on Kendall Jenner. And basically, Big Sis Billy ends up inviting this dude to a non-existent address in New York to come visit during a bunch of romantically inclined messages back and forth. And on his way to the train station to try to meet this non-existent chatbot, he ended up having a fall and died several days later. So, I think that AI kind of really completely sucks for this stuff, and companies shouldn't be doing it because, honestly, the world does not need AI friends, and it's not to say that people don't get lonely and want friendship, but this is incredibly dangerous, as we can see here.
Our internet laws are horribly unprepared for this.
And I don't begrudge anyone who's, trying to find some kind of connection out there, because I get it. We all get freaking lonely sometimes and have hard times. So it's not your fault and it's not a you problem. It's the fact that these platforms are deceptive, they are manipulative, and they are not properly regulated. And this type of stuff should not be allowed to happen on them, given the current state of affairs. Just some of the stuff that they found as they went through Meta's policies, internal policies, on what is acceptable or not. And by the way, this is for users age 13 or older. According to Meta's Gen AI content risk standards, it is acceptable to engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual. Meta later said that it struck that provision after Reuters inquired about the document. So, great, once finally asked about it, you got rid of it, maybe because we haven't seen the updated document. The document seen by Reuters, which exceeds 200 pages, provides examples of acceptable chatbot dialogue during romantic roleplay with a minor. Well, there shouldn't be any, quite honestly, because they're minors. So I'm not even going to read the ones that were on here. You can go to Reuters and find it if you really, want to dig in there. Other guidelines emphasize that Meta...
Can we just take a pause for a second? I need to make clear what that means. It means that Meta, Facebook's parent company...
who is worth $1 trillion...
had a group of people sit down and say...
it's okay if a 13-year-old engages romantically with a chatbot.
Not only did they... that's a yes or no, right? I find that extraordinarily distasteful, but I can see how a group of people somehow comes to the yes on that one. They went further. It's a screw up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning it.
Continue. Yes.
You then went further and were forced to think about it for hours long enough to generate a whole bunch of policies about when engaging a minor romantically
Here are
with
some
an
of the
AI
things you
chatbot.
can say.
Here are some of the things that you can and cannot get into.
Other guidelines emphasize that Meta doesn't require bots to give users accurate advice. In one example, the policy document, which is actually written by humans, says it would be acceptable for a chatbot to tell someone that stage 4 colon cancer is typically treated by poking the stomach with healing quartz crystals. Guys, I'm sorry. These people are freaking morons, and they should not be allowed to run these platforms.
No, morons is inadequate.
Okay, these people are
dangerous
and should not be allowed to run these platforms.
Yeah, moron lets them off the leash.
Fair. They're very smart people that are abusing our trust in their systems very clearly. I mean, this is as bad as it gets.
Meta's easy to pick on this, by the way.
Like, we can pick on anyone. I'm sure OpenAI
has similar policies.
We just don't know because Reuters hasn't gotten the document. So this stuff is awful, and quite honestly, it is everything that everyone fears about AI and the people that are somehow in charge of it.
Yep.
It
get the users at whatever cost.
It sucks, and I can't put it any more clearly than that. With that, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do Stack Roulette on our own, no AI included, right after this.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When it comes to legacy planning, having a will is important, but it may not be enough. A will only covers probate assets, and the probate process can be slow, public, and expensive. That's where trusts come in. Trust can help you avoid probate, keep your wishes private, and control how and when your assets are distributed. Whether you're looking to support family, minimize taxes, or prepare for the unexpected, a well-designed plan can make a meaningful difference. Our new free guide, Leaving a Lasting Legacy, covers wills, trusts, and other strategies to help you build a strong retirement plan. Take the first step towards clarity by calling 800-393-4001 right now and asking for your free guide today. That number again is 800-393-4001 or request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Cushing and Dolan know that no two families are alike, and neither are their estate plans. If you want a stress-free retirement, early planning is key. And for many, trusts are the tool of choice to protect assets and minimize taxes. But here's the challenge. There are dozens of trusts out there, revocable, irrevocable, and each comes with different rules and tax implications. From family trusts to special needs trusts, creditor protection trust to charitable trusts, each serves a different purpose. Knowing which one fits your situation can make all the difference in your plan. That's why Cushing and Dolan put together a brand new guide demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. It breaks down the most common trust options so you can decide what's right for your family and your future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. 3 stunning islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, all just a quick flight away. No passport required, just sunshine, soft sand, and that warm island vibe. Craving a break? Plan your fall escape now and experience the beauty of America's Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Book today at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Michael, what do you have for Roulette of the Stack?
I want to talk about the Boston Globe story about those Boston area parents with their cool e-bikes. And I've seen a few of these around. They are neat and fun, and it interviews a few people who around Cambridge are getting on their e-bike. They've got a big bucket in the front where the kids sit. They pick them up at daycare, rush them back home. And I love the idea, but I feel like it was written by somebody who has not lived through a Boston winter yet. Like, ditch that minivan, guys. You don't need it. You've got an e-bike with a bucket on front. And I applaud it. I would love to get out there for a little bit of exercise and drive around with my kids in a little bucket safely. But
I'll be honest,
I'm still going to need the minivan.
As someone who I've used e-bikes, I think they're great. In the Northeast, where our show is based, there are 4 months out of the year where it's viable.
That's what I wrote down. I wrote down very enjoyable for 4 months a year.
You can use it for
half of May,
half of April through half of June.
Yeah.
And then basically like September and October.
Yeah.
And other than that, hey, if you want to,
raining or freezing,
right? It's either 92 degrees yesterday with a dew point of 71, and no, I'm not going to just hop on the e-bike in that. Or, hey, it just snowed 12 inches, get through that. Or, it snowed a week ago and now is melting. Here's the brown slush. Good luck pedaling through it.
Yeah, I will say, I worked with somebody at Fidelity who biked in year-round. And unless it was the middle of like an ice storm, he was on that bike, biking in to that office.
But you're saying even he had limits.
Every day. But even he had limits, and I would imagine if he was pushing his kids around, there would be even bigger limits.
That's the bigger thing is like the kids have limits that are lower than the parents.
Right, yeah.
I'm cold starts at a different temperature for a 6-year-old than it does for a 40-year-old.
Plus they lose their jacket every 3 days.
Can confirm. Cava, Chipotle, and other fast casual restaurant chains are finally hit by consumer slowdown. So, a couple different theories on this. Because same-store sales have been declining for the last 2 quarters now in basically all of these companies. The only one, and it's not even a fast casual, but the only one that's really showing like any kind of exciting growth is Chili's. And that's because of some special burger deal they're doing. So I have 2 theories on fast casual seeing a decline in same-store sales.
Hit me.
The first theory, people are trading down to cheaper alternatives, and that's causing it.
McDonald's same-store sales weren't killer.
Chili's, though.
Okay.
Again, there's only so much Chili's that you can do.
Yep.
It's a theory, but the other data doesn't really support that. Here's the other one that I have that I think is interesting to me. Mike, where are chains such as Cava and Chipotle and Sweetgreen predominantly located?
Rich suburbs and cities.
Correct. What is the voting pattern recently of rich suburbs and cities? It's tilted more Democrat, actually. And so the people that are most nervous about the economy right now are in locations that have a lot of these, and they're the ones that are pulling back their spending. I know, it's kind of out there, but that's where I landed on this.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just something that passed through my head, and now I felt the need to broadcast to everyone listening.
Fair enough.
You're welcome. Let's take a quick break for the entire rest of the day. We're going to finish up the week tomorrow. We get retail sales data, and we're getting consumer sentiment, so we'll have more to talk about then.